Everybody, welcome to the morning meeting. Lots of news today. Larry and Kevin and I are going to take you through, and because we're forward-looking, we're not going to talk about Donald Trump's view of the physical attractiveness of the Miami soccer players. That's a yesterday story. We're about today and tomorrow.
Kevin was conspicuously silent during that entire exchange.
I'm not saying a word. I'm not saying a word. They're all good looking to me.
Did you watch the event? Did you see the players?
I saw clips of it. I can't, I can't sit through all this.
I think that team
every day.
I think that team drafts on looks. The Miami soccer players are just
notoriously good looking.
They are just, my goodness. Anyway, thank you for being here. If you're here on the platform, want to be part of the conversation, you can simply by raising your hand. If you're watching on X or on YouTube, don't raise your hand, and do not, under any circumstances, put smack in the chat. I know what you're all thinking, because the connection between me and the two-way community is tight. It's very tight. I know what you're thinking. Mark, why are you dressed like Steve Bannon today? I'm doing it in homage to Steve Bannon on this day when the economy looks like it's in big trouble, because Steve Bannon's obsessed with the economy. That's why I'm dressed like Steve Bannon. In a moment, I'll run through the daybook, and we'll have a spirited conversation about all sorts of matters. And then before too long, we will take your questions. This is a platform like no other, conversations like no other. Don't waste the opportunity. If you've never raised your hand and you're here on the platform, getting to ask Kevin and Larry a question is, for many, ladies and gentlemen, it's a dream come true. And your dream can be a reality today. Raise your hand. Also,
we had a great new person, Mindy, join us yesterday.
Mindy was
great exchange with Michael about what's going on the ground.
That was spectacular. Yeah. That was a memorable. We call that a memorable moment. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to make memorable moments last a lifetime. Raise your hand if you want in. All right, quick word from a sponsor, and then right to the daybook. Want to get a free quote on life insurance? If you don't have life insurance and you're the breadwinner of your family, you're making a massive error. Not fair to your family, really, and silly for you. So right now, if you don't have life insurance, go get it. Go to ethos.com/Mark. Get a free quote. Ethos is an online platform. It makes getting life insurance. It's not quite as easy as ordering some Kung Pao chicken, but almost. Takes about 10 minutes online or a little bit longer. Fill out a questionnaire. No, there's no health exam. Just answer some medical questions, a few other things, and you can get up to $3 million. Yes, I said $3 million in life insurance right away, just a matter of a few moments. Ethos is going to provide you the peace of mind and financial security that you and your family need. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Again, in as little as 10 minutes. Application times can vary, but go on and you'll see. It's very easy. Not a complicated process, 100% online. Go to ethos.com/Mark for your free quote today. Thank you for doing that. Your family will thank you too. Go do it, and then tell them you've gotten it done, and they might thank you. All right, here we go. Daybook today. Here's the White House pool. This is my favorite part of the pool today. I'm sure they've been in the pool before, and I just haven't noticed. But Reason Magazine is the new media pool today. And there's opportunities to question the president. And I don't know, is Robbie going to be, Lori, do you know, is Robbie going to do the pool duty?
I don't think Robbie would do that. But,
yeah. All right.
Prepare for every other question to be about pot.
Yeah, the president's for legalization. And Politico, one of the president's favorite, is there as well. Here's what the president's doing. He ends the day in Miami. He's going down there for this big conference for Kristi Noem's new job of an alliance of the Americas. I don't totally understand it. Anyway, at this hour, the president's
her promotion,
her big new promotion.
Yes. Coalition of the willing, take charge.
At this hour, the president's in what he calls executive time, which means watching the morning meeting. Good morning, Mr. President. Signing time at 1 o'clock, 1:30, a policy meeting, so he's going to have to sign fast. 2:30, he meets with Pete Hegseth. 3:30, he meets with Doug Burgum, who's just back from Latin America, right? Yeah, I think
Venezuela.
So. From Venezuela. And then his only open press event, and it's open press. It's not pool. It's not expanded pool. It's not credentialed press. Open press, Saving College Sports Roundtable. What's the name of the guy who was the coach of Alabama football? Maybe he still is. What's that guy's name? No. Alabama.
Former coach or current coach?
No. What's his name? The legendary Alabama football coach. Saban. Thank you.
Saban.
Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Nick
Thank
Saban.
you. The chat is incredible. I could ask the chat anything. The chat, what's the weather in Chattanooga right now? Nick Saban, Tiger Woods, according to Fox News, amongst those who will be at this event. The president's obsessed with sports, and if you watched the event with the Miami soccer team yesterday, you know his interest in sports is massive. So that event's open press, so that'll screw up two-way tonight or give us some late-breaking news, depending on when he talks about Iran. But that's his only open press event. In addition, there's a meeting at the White House today. Not clear if it's the Hexeth meeting that's listed or whether this group's meeting with the president, but a bunch of defense industry execs are going to the White House today to talk about the war, and amidst denials from the Pentagon that they've got a munitions shortage issue, but just logically, they need to talk about defense production. So that's all happening at the White House today. And then he heads off to Miami, where he'll spend a second weekend in a row, maybe third weekend, I can't remember, in Florida. Don't know what the vice president's doing today. Joni Ernst at this hour is speaking to Politics and Eggs in New Hampshire. You guys ever been to the Politics and Eggs breakfast at St. Anselm College?
I have not.
It's a great
no.
event. I've been honored to
Here
be
it is.
the speaker there 3 times, and I've covered many of them. And one of the things is they give away little wooden eggs. They're egg-sized, made of wood, and the guest signs them. And I got a bunch signed by famous people. They're incredible keepsake, and it's a fabled event. And I hope to be invited back soon. If you're listening to me now, you're probably not because you're at the breakfast. I'm ready to come back.
Mark, is that any indication? Obviously, she's retiring, but is she thinking about something else? That's kind of a proving ground.
It is kind of weird for Joni Ernst to be speaking there. Yeah, I mean, maybe she wants to be somebody's running mate. I don't know. Good question. I don't know, and I don't know when she announced her retirement what she said she wants to do. Like, is she become the president of DePaw or something? I don't know. I don't know what she's doing.
Spend time with her family.
Spend time
Go
with
back
her
to
family.
castrating
She's going to sign some wooden eggs, though. We know that.
Yeah. I'm going to get one. I'm going to get one of the Ernst ones. My collection's somewhere around here. Maybe during the next break, as if we have breaks on the show, I'll find one and show it to you. I probably should have done that. Anyway, it's a great event. I love it. Noon today in Chicago. Jesse Jackson's already had memorial services in Chicago and in South Carolina, where he's from. But the big ones today at noon Eastern, President Obama, President Clinton, President Biden, all attending, and I believe all speaking, as well as Kamala Harris. Virginia, early voting begins today for the referendum that could change the congressional map and get Democrats a net of 4 additional House seats, ladies and gentlemen. That would be probably more than they end up winning in Texas if the Hispanic vote performs going forward as it did on Tuesday. There's a federal judge in Washington today hearing an argument about the Defense Department rules regarding credentialing journalists. And the big thing that already happened, ladies and gentlemen, is the jobs numbers came out. And we'll start there because it's the latest breaking thing and it's massive. People kind of anticipating decent numbers. They were horrible. These are like about as bad as anybody could imagine. People thought they would be a net. The expectations of the expectors was there'd be like a 50,000 increase. Payrolls fell by 92,000 in February. The unemployment rate ticked up. That's my favorite cliche. I always say ticked up. I think it ticked up 0.1%. And the previous month, the January numbers were revised down. I'll be curious to see how the White House spins this. I don't think we've heard from them yet. But Kevin, how do we put this into the mix of worries that the war are going to affect the economy, worries for Republicans that the midterms are going to, the economy is going to be a drag on the midterms? How do these numbers fit into the mix of that?
Certainly not great. And again, I'm sure the White House is now in response control. We saw Chris Wright, the energy secretary, this morning talking about gas prices on Fox News, messaging to that audience, because again, all these things we know in recent memory tanked administrations in the past. When we were looking at foreign affairs and foreign wars, and then we see at home these numbers dropping down, that's going to take a toll, I think, on the midterms, most likely in the short term in these next 8 months.
Larry, in addition to the unemployment numbers and the job numbers, here's some other data to consider. Number 114, please. Gas prices, this is a New York Times headline, up bigly. And natural gas costs are up as well. But here's gas prices. U.S. gas prices, the New York Times headline, up 11% in a week. Pile pressure on Trump. The average price of a gallon of gas jumped on Friday, $3.32 per gallon. Highest level in a year and a half. You can see if you're watching on YouTube or here on the platform. You can see the increase spiking up there. Here's another, the S&P. There've been, since the war started, there have been some good days, and everybody's in the dollar, so the dollar's doing great. But here's the S&P slide this week, 115. Pessimism is deepening as bellwether companies like FedEx and General Electric warn of worsening economic and business conditions. And you can see this is over the course of the year, but this week has been pretty brutal overall. And then, Larry, people are speculating also that this is about AI and that AI is is just going to destroy. In addition to the war, the combination of the war and job losses over AI are going to produce a brutal 2026 for the country. More important than for the Republican Party, but also for the Republican Party. Finally, Larry, teeing you up bigly to speak at great length.
Mark.
Poor Larry's getting all these statistics back to back.
Here is, as Kevin said, the Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, on Fox and Friends, saying that, in fact, gas prices will be down before you know it, 113.
Point, when will there be some relief for folks at the pump? Do we expect this to last weeks, or do you think, with the mitigation that the administration is putting in place right now, that we should see the gas prices start to come back down?
Yeah, I think it's of order weeks. I would say in the worst case, but it's weeks, not months. And look, Iran has been an escalator of energy prices 47 years, the whole history of their regime. We've got a little bit of an interruption right now to finally put an end to their ability to wreak havoc, to kill Americans, and to terrorize their neighbors.
So, Larry, leave the politics of it aside. Just let's talk about the substance here. I don't know how Chris Wright can say that, because he doesn't know when the war is going to end. But what's your forecast based on AI, the war, gas prices? What's your forecast, not just for the macroeconomy, but for the American consumer in 2026?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not smart enough to be able to make a projection about AI. I'm told by people who are smarter than me, and that's a lot, about AI, is that, yes, there's going, as we transition more and more jobs and old school employment opportunities to artificial intelligence, there's going to be a transition moment. It's been likened to me like the transition from, horse and buggy to cars. And I know that old tired cliche, but it didn't kill the job industry in America when we transitioned from horse and buggy to cars. It just created new job opportunities in different industries, made us more efficient, made things better, but there's going to be some pain in the interim. That's what I've been told, but I'm hardly an expert.
It did hurt the horse market, though. It did hit them.
It did. It hurt that and the whip market and all of that.
What about the argument, guys, that the administration seems remarkably all right, Dana Bash seems to have talked to the president. Let's go to CNN, please.
Okay. But the gas thing, I feel like I've got a better handle on after we hear from Dan.
Okay, but go ahead and put that up. Is that coming up soon? Okay, here we go.
Corn in soon. That's one of the big questions about whether he will do that in order to try to.
All right. Monitor it and tell us what she said. Here's my
limit the fight in the runoff there. The Republican.
Yeah, go ahead and take that off because it's buffering too much.
Runoff, and he said.
Here's my question on the economy and the war, and we'll transition to the war. 101, Middle East war, energy prices are going to go up, right? They seem unprepared. They seem to be scrambling to address gas prices at home, energy prices worldwide, and they've been actually lucky that it hasn't gone up as much as some people feared. They're making maneuvers with China. They're making maneuvers with Europe. They're maybe making maneuvers with Russia. Maybe with Venezuela. But how? And I know it was a surprise to us. But how could the president and Susie Wiles and Stephen Miller not said to Bessent and Wright and others, hey, we might go to war with Iran. Let's have a plan available to convince the American consumers that we're on top of this. How could that have been?
Well, I don't accept the premise that they're not prepared. I think that it's not the crisis that so many people are making it out to be. First of all,
Larry, I'm sorry. I got to stop you. We know they're not prepared because they're out there saying we're working on a plan now, and everybody in industry is asking me, what's the plan? So if you're telling me they were prepared, but they're keeping the plan secret?
Well, they were prepared for everything they could be prepared for, except for that they can't be prepared for. And what they couldn't be prepared for was how long it was going to take to get the Strait of Hormuz flowing again. There's a reason why the military strikes have been focusing on Iran's Navy, because it's the Navy and the potential threat of Navy blockades at the Strait of Hormuz that affects the oil prices directly. We are 7 days into this. Global oil prices right now are $89 a barrel. Do you know what the price of oil, price per barrel oil was in 2011 with the Arab Spring and our bombardment of Libya?
Much higher.
$125
much higher.
a
But
barrel.
Larry,
much higher.
But Larry,
so number one, it's very early. But number two, you just said Secretary Burgum was just in Venezuela. That is part of the plan. That timing is not coincidental. We're freeing up oil out of Venezuela, and that's going to help bring these prices down as well. As soon as the Strait of Hormuz is freed up, I don't think this is going to be the gas crisis everybody thinks it is.
Kevin,
if this were
Barack Obama or Joe Biden, if this were Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and they launched a war in the Middle East and gas prices spiked in an election year, the right would pillory them for saying, you don't understand how oil markets work. You're letting the American people foot the bill for a war of choice. So I just don't understand Go ahead.
And you would see the gas price ticker return to Fox News, the homepage, where it was updated by the minute, right? Driving concerns about that. I will say, in defense of the administration, speaking as the Democrat, the one thing that they did behind the scenes effectively, I think, is open up the insurance market for these tankers, which is a big concern.
But even that,
and that was done beforehand. But again, to Larry's point, the Strait is still the main concern now with no ships moving.
That wasn't done before the war started. That was done.
Well,
it was done around the same
war
time.
Started, it would have indicated that the war was starting.
Well, no, but
they didn't do things before the war started.
Maybe they had that pre-planned, folks, but I don't think so. Based on my reporting, that was not ready to go.
They also have a fail-safe, Mark.
Which is?
Well, they have the fail-safes of the strategic petroleum reserves, which have now been.
Are they fully replenished?
Not fully replenished, but he already had taken steps earlier, late fall, I think, of last year to replenish.
Okay, but they haven't released
it. And that's why we have they haven't yet.
But they haven't released it.
Needed to.
But again, if you're thinking as president, you're going to go with the war to Iraq, top that thing off. It's not. I don't know how empty it is, but it's not full. Okay, here is a Truth Social post from the president. Is this from this morning? Otherwise, it's just now surfacing in my life. Anyway, here's
this morning at 5.
Yeah, it is this morning. 5.
All right, so this is from the president. There will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. After that, and the selection of a great and acceptable leader, we and many of our wonderful and brave allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction, making it economically bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Iran will have a great future. Make Iran great again. And thank you for your attention to this matter. Speaking of Make Iran great again, the president loves being on the cover of Time magazine, but I'm not sure this is the cover that he would want. This is the president, the latest cover of Time magazine, 105, Make Iran Great Again, red hats. 106, here's what the president told Time. They got an interview. Asked where Americans should be worried about retaliatory attacks at home. Trump acknowledged the possibility. Quote, I guess, he says, but I think they're worried about that all the time. We think about it all the time. We plan for it. But yeah, we expect some things. Like I said, some people will die. When you go to war, some people will die. Democrats will have a field day with this quote, I'm virtually certain. The war still seems to be going very well from a tactical battlefield point of view. Fewer and fewer Iranian strikes. The UAE rallying now, putting economic sanctions on their putative ally in Tehran. The U.S. military, the Israeli military continue to have very robust briefings talking about all the targets that are being hit. There have been mistakes. Civilians have died. Some Americans have died, although no reports of any additional Americans dying since the initial 6. Thank goodness.
Thank God.
And the Iranian foreign minister went on NBC last night to try to win the title of this century's Baghdad Bob. Here he is with Tom Yamis, 104.
Tehran Tom.
And I asked Iran's foreign minister about whether his country is prepared for a possible ground invasion from American troops. Watch this. President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
So you're saying that Iran is ready and willing to take on the U.S. military if there were to be ground troops?
Well, we were ready for this war even more than the previous war. So you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons. and we are prepared for any other eventuality, even a ground invasion. So our soldiers are prepared for any scenario. When I said that we are waiting for them, it didn't mean that we are waiting for continuation of the war. No, but we have prepared ourselves to confront with any scenario, with any eventuality, any possibility, and we know that we can handle that.
Okay. Kevin, what's your sense of where the war stands right now?
I mean, one of the more interesting elements now that we're seeing, and my big fear is what Hezbollah is doing in Lebanon. And I think that would be, that's the big fear, I think, for Israelis as well. I had dinner with an Israeli last night talking about those concerns. If Hezbollah gets involved with the sheer number of rockets they have directly over the border, you have a lot more time from any missiles coming from Iran to hit targets around the region. There's more of a warning time. With Hezbollah in the north, that's not the case. So you're seeing, obviously, Israel take out elements now in Lebanon as part of this 7 days in. I think that would be one of the more critical choke points that the Iranians can do in the short term. The other thing, too, is that we're seeing, obviously, command and control, we talked about this yesterday, has been decimated. A lot of these operators are now operating independently, the missile strikes and things like that. But we haven't seen indications really of a breakdown in terms of folks defecting, folks staying home, not engaging in response, which is something that was hoped for, I think, as part of this in terms of the Iranian military, the Revolutionary Guard taking a step back, saying this isn't worth the fight. So those are the two things I think that I'm watching, at least into this weekend, too.
Larry, how do you see the war right now?
I think it's every person that I've interviewed that has military experience in the Middle East have said that this couldn't have gone any better at this point for the U.S. military and for our allies in Israel. They are very much diminished and depleted, despite the foreign minister of Iran saying otherwise. The amount of rockets and cluster drones that they've been able to shoot over the week has diminished precipitously, and they've lost command and control. We have complete control of the airspace, and as I said, it's just a question of cleaning up things in the Straits of Hormuz before we've got complete control over the sea. I think that the war is going very, very well from the U.S. perspective, despite the loss of 6 American lives. Also, real fast, 416 million barrels in the strategic oil reserves as of now. That's after a purchase of 395 million about a year ago. So it was completely diminished. Right now, it's about 60%.
Yeah, again, I just don't know why the president would go to a war and precipitate a crisis with the thing 60% full. I just don't understand that. Seems, and again,
interestingly too, they haven't even really mentioned the strategic reserves either.
Well, they mentioned it privately. They mentioned it privately. Yesterday, he told Reuters, it doesn't really matter if gas prices go up. I'm paraphrasing. Last thing on the war, and you guys may not know the answer to this. It's my new obsession. And if you know the answer and you're here, put it in the chat. Iran has a massive military, the weak Air Force, strong Navy, which has now been decimated, but they've got a huge army. What are they doing? There's no ground fighting. Are they in bunkers? Are they marching around like? And is the U.S. going to just kill out the army too? Because why not kill out the army? Either of you know the answer to that?
I don't. My guess is that they're hiding their uniforms and finding civilian clothes and trying to blend in with the population at this point.
They're working at Starbucks in Tehran.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
What would you do if you were in the army right now watching the events going on this week?
Mark, it is interesting, though, to your point, that they prioritized the army over the Navy.
Yes,
we took out,
correct.
I think, 22 of their ships. They're seafaring, and again, the choke points with the Strait, that should have been their priority for the longest time. And, no one's fighting ground wars really anymore.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Kristi Noem, just as the president's interview with Time suggested, he's aware that the homeland's potentially vulnerable. This has been true since 9/11. I don't understand why people, thank goodness, aren't walking into shopping malls in Nebraska and just putting a stick of dynamite in there. But we never did get to the bottom of what happened in Austin, as far as I know. But that doesn't seem to have been a coordinated, Al-Qaeda attack or Iranian attack. So what does it mean? We have Noem's not leave. She was not frog marched out of the building. She's going to keep the job, I think, till Mullin is confirmed, which they hope to have done by the end of the month. So What does it mean that she's leaving for the safety of Americans? Is the department going to be stronger under Mullin if he's confirmed? Is there anything that says about whether other cabinet members are endangered? What does her dismissal mean for the future, Larry?
I didn't take in her dismissal that it had anything to do with her performance in terms of securing the country. If you compare her performance versus her predecessor, Secretary Mayorkas, she secured the border. She oversaw the deportation of illegal immigrants. She cleaned up the Secret Service. So far, there's more work to be done there. There were a lot of improvements under Homeland Security. She was dismissed for political reasons, and rightly so, as I mentioned on the show.
And optics reasons, too, I would say.
Yeah,
And optics reasons.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
So there's nothing to do with...
I don't see us as being vulnerable right now because of Mrs. Noem.
Does her dismissal make it more or less likely, Larry, in your view, that other cabinet members are dismissed or no effect?
I don't think it has an effect other than... it's the first major domino to fall, but I don't. That doesn't mean that there will be other dominoes. But I think, listen, I think it's always a good reminder to everybody that they serve at the pleasure of the president, and they have two jobs: to run the department they're in charge of, and to make sure that they keep the White House out of political trouble. She failed at the latter.
Right, Kevin. There's a tweet from Mr. Schatz of Hawaii, who's in line to be the number 2 Democrat next Congress, 109. This is about the war, but similar parallel to what Democrats are saying about Noem's departure. Trump being politically nimble and improvisational and a little nuts enabled him to run circles around us in 2 elections. But having no particular plan as it relates to the war in the Middle East is a different thing, and it's getting more dangerous by the day. So Democrats are right now, their messaging is about the war being badly planned, quagmire. It's about Noem being fired, not being enough, that Stephen Miller had to be fired. That's what Gavin Newsom said in New Hampshire last night. And it's about saying that the economy, all this is a distraction from affordability. Are Democrats rising to the occasion as leaders, as midterm strategists right now, or are there just too many different things on their minds?
I think it's a latter. I think there's too many different things on their minds. All the talking points for previewing the State of the Union that I received from Democratic leadership was just talking about the chaos of this administration. And I think that only works to some degree, right? We can't continue to just be this TDS, anti-Trump everything. And we're seeing these traps laid by the president when, he's calling out Hakeem Jeffries for not being sufficiently supportive of the troops because of the optics of what they're saying. So again, I think the smart Democrats are saying, yes, right? Yes, this administration is chaos, but what are we also proposing as a party? What are we trying to fight for the American voter, not just being anti-Trump as part of this? And I think we'll see how that plays out. I do think Mullin, the one thing that he has that Noem doesn't have, and what is desperately needed, is relationships on Capitol Hill. He spent, more than a decade in the House, a few years in the Senate. He already has John Fetterman, supporting his nomination as a Democrat. And right now, the fight is over funding, and you want a secretary that actually has some relationships with Congress. I think that's the difference between him and Noem right there, who's been persona non grata and being pillared by not just Democrats, but Republicans, as we saw play out this past week in those hearings.
Right. All right, we're going to speed through. We're going to speed through a few more topics, and then to your questions again. If you're here on the platform, would like to be in the conversation, please raise your hand. Yes, Larry.
Just one quickie about Markwayne Mullin. Keep an eye on this from our Republican perspective. He'll be replaced by the governor of Oklahoma, Mr. Governor Stitt.
He's going to pick himself.
He's been at odds with President Trump for quite some time, and he could very well pick himself. And Trump just recently
is he term limited? I know he's in his second term, right?
He's losing popularity in Oklahoma.
Do you know that Oklahoma has a law regarding what you have to do to be picked to be a replacement senator? You have to pledge not to run for the seat. I'm not familiar with
know that.
I read that. I think really? I read it someplace reliable. Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Check that. Yeah. I read it somewhere reliable, and it's kind of a crazy law, right? I mean,
my father-in-law was the chairman of the Republican Party in Cleveland County, Oklahoma. So I will check with my father-in-law.
Check with him.
ASAP.
Okay.
There you go.
So there's this issue related to the war and Homeland Security about seeking in appropriations to pay for the war. Republicans are sort of theorizing about what else to put in there, disaster relief or other things that they want to pass. There's now also resurfacing for the upteenth time the question of whether Republicans in this election year will try to do another reconciliation bill. It's the only way they can pass something on the economy without Democratic votes needing to break a filibuster in the Senate or get any Democratic votes in the House. Many people in the administration are against the second reconciliation bill. The chairman of the Ways and Means Committee in the House is totally against it. But the speakers for it, Punch Bowl this morning, has a headline saying that their meeting last week that Republicans are going to pursue a second one. They decided at their Florida retreat last weekend that they're going to pursue a second reconciliation package this year, according to Punch Bowl's multiple sources. The only problem is, and this is key, they have no idea what will go in it or how they're going to pay for it. The pay fors are huge. Some people want to do
other than that, it's a great idea.
Some people want to do health care. Some people want to do defense spending in this. I still don't think it's going to happen, but it's testament to how much they're scrambling for a midterm message, as polls show that the big, beautiful bill so far, and Kevin, I think, pointed out yesterday, tax season's coming, maybe that'll change. The big, beautiful bill is not resonating with voters. So just yes, no question. Will there be a second reconciliation bill, Kevin?
No.
Larry?
No, unless something changes at the retreat next week. Yeah. Republicans have a retreat next week. Let's see what happens.
It is interesting, though, the messaging that this is really Speaker Johnson on his own, kind of pushing for this.
But did Chairman Smith say he's against it, or did he just say it's?
He's against. He's against it because he thinks He's against it because he thinks it can't happen for all the reasons I just said.
Right.
There's no agreement.
He said it's a real heavy lift.
But I think he thinks it's such a heavy lift that it's a waste of time. He'd rather, and I believe, I'm not sure about this, but I believe his point of view is we passed a big reconciliation bill that we made big because we knew we couldn't do a second one. We have no margin of error to pass it in the House, and either it will, and if it'll probably fail, and then we'll tell the voters basically we didn't do enough for you, rather than just trying to sell what passed.
Right.
Okay,
I don't think he's wrong.
Which they haven't effectively done. So far.
Correct. Yeah. And the administration is against it, I believe. Not everybody, but most people. Moments ago,
they're taking a play from the Obama playbook, passing something big, and then failing to sell it to the American people, like we did with healthcare and everything else.
Exactly. Here's Kevin Hassett a moment ago, the head of the White House Economic Council. One of the first administration reactions to the very disappointing job numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Hassett.
I think that what happens historically when there's a big tech change like this, like electricity, or think about all the guys who are in horses and carriages that suddenly saw automobiles take.
Larry, Larry's on message.
No, listen to what he says.
And it takes just a little bit of time, but the thing is that this economy is moving the fastest we've ever seen. And with, say, 4% growth this year, which is about what I expect that we're going to see, then there'll be so much activity that everybody's going to be able to find a job that wants one.
4% growth. Woof. All right, guys, let's speed through some topics and get to everybody's questions. Tucker and Trump battled yesterday. Laura Loomer said, this is over. Stop talking to Tucker. Are they broken up or not? Here's the Daily Mail headline. Trump ejects not smart Tucker Carlson from MAGA after conservative star calls Iran strikes evil. Larry, are they broken up or they're just on they're on a break? Broken up or on a break?
On a break.
Kevin?
In keeping with your homage to Steve Bannon, who was called Sloppy Steve and excommunicated, and then somehow they found a way to be friends again.
Kevin, are they on a break or broken up?
They're on a break. Everybody comes back to the fold like Elon. Look at that.
They're on a break. Elon. All right. Just like Elon. And Sloppy Steve.
Yesterday, the Justice Department released the 3 FBI interview transcripts with a woman who has no credibility based on what we've seen, accusing Donald Trump of a very specific action of sexual assault, but with no specifics. She doesn't know where it was, when it was. This is all. These interviews were available to the Biden Justice Department. They were available to the Trump Justice Department. There's been no prosecution. I'm asking you now a media question. Politico wrote the whole account of what she charges. The AP wrote about it elliptically. The New York Times just said they were released and just said they were serious charges. Larry, if you ran a news organization, and you do, would you print the charges? They've been in public. Would you tell your readers what's in these charges? Or would you say he's the president and they appear to be baseless? I'm not gonna write about them.
We would probably not go with this story.
Yeah. Kevin?
I think you go with it to some degree, but then with the idea that this is totally baseless and stuff like that. I think with that condition on it, because it is newsworthy. And the newsworthy element of it is the idea that, the Justice Department said these were duplicates, we didn't release this for whatever reason. I think that is more of the story than the actual allegations themselves.
Yeah. Kev, Larry.
And in fact, Mark, and again, I didn't read today's Political, but I saw one of the articles last week on Thursday, I think it was. It's even worse. Isn't it also hearsay? It's not the actual alleged victim. It's
no,
actually
it is
her friend.
No, it's the victim.
Who reported.
It's the alleged victim.
Okay.
It's the alleged victim. All right. Two things on Texas Senate race. Larry read Mr. Paxton's tone of voice yesterday correctly. Paxton, after saying defiantly in words but not in tone that he would never get out, in another interview yesterday said, well, I'll consider getting out if they offer me a bunch of stuff. And the president, after saying he was about to endorse, and everybody still thinks he's going to endorse Cornyn, hasn't endorsed. So, Larry, how will the Republican side end here? Will the president endorse Cornyn? And if so, will Paxton get out, or some combination of those things?
I stick with what I said yesterday, which was I don't think the president is going to endorse anytime soon. And if Paxton does get out, it'll be an exchange. It'll be a horse trade for the SAVE Act.
Okay, but do you think eventually he'll endorse Cornyn and Paxton will get out eventually before the primary, for the runoff? Or
that's what the smart money in D.C. says. But
what do you
my
say?
gut still tells me.
What does the dumb money in Annapolis say?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't think it's going to happen, Kevin? What's going to happen?
My gut tells me it's not going to happen.
Okay, Kevin, what's going to happen?
It's not going to happen.
Okay, Kevin, what's going to happen?
He's setting this up for failure with Paxton's request that they take away the filibuster, which Thune is not going to do for the SAVE Act. So he's setting this up for, I'll do this if you do that. The Senate, Senate Republicans are not going to do this, even though Thune really wants that Cornyn endorsement. And again, Trump has been out there calling Cornyn a rhino for all of his career, pretty much. And I think to Larry's point, it strikes at the heart of MAGA because Paxton is so in line
so what's
with
gonna
those
happen?
MAGA troops.
What's going to happen? Is he going to endorse him, and is he going to get
If he does endorse, it's going to be maybe the weekend beforehand. I think not early on.
I'm dissenting. He's going to endorse soon. Paxton's going to get out. He's going to accept a quarter of a loaf, and Cornyn would have focused on the general election. Story in Politico today about the Texas Democratic side that says Democratic donors are not super into Tallarico. Democrats aren't sure whether to actually spend big to flip Texas. National Democrats are worried the money it would take to compete in Texas could be better spent elsewhere. Not just better spent in places like Michigan to hold a seat, in Iowa and Ohio to win a seat, in North Carolina and Maine to win a seat, the four they would need. But those states are all cheaper. Texas is an enormous lift. And while they have a lot of money, they'll have a lot of money. They don't have unlimited money. And every dollar you spend in Texas, if you don't win Texas and then you don't win a close race in one of these other states, even Montana, some Democrats are saying would be a better bet. So this is this is a continuum, not a bright line. But Kevin, will national Democratic donors, leave aside the grassroots because they'll give to Tallarico, will bundlers and super PAC donors, will they go all in Texas or not?
Yeah, I think so. I do. And again, I don't know who's behind this Politico piece in terms of why they're throwing cold water on him. And to your part, Mark, and I know you said don't bring it up, but Tallarico is going to raise a ton. Jamie Harrison raised $160, $180 million.
I didn't say don't bring it up.
Our friend Jamie, that's
it's important.
Been on Morning Meeting quite a bit and across the two-way platform, who I like. So Tallarico is going to have the resources certainly to compete, even though Texas, with the media markets is pretty expensive.
Larry, will the bundlers and super PAC donors go in or not?
They can't help themselves.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll dissent again.
It's our white whale. Texas is our white whale.
I'll dissent again. I think they'll give some, but I think the opposition research will be dumped on him. They'll start to be, after the Republican side clarifies, you'll start to see polls showing Cornyn up by too much, and they'll put most of the money elsewhere is what I predict. All right, one more thing then to your questions. Please raise your hand if you want to get in on the conversation. Kevin, winner of the week.
Winner of the week is James Tallarico, right? Everyone was predicting that Jasmine Crockett was going to win that race, and he is my winner again, mostly because of the great numbers that we saw with Hispanics, which is going to help down the ticket, as we talked about with those congressional districts that were redrawn. So he is my winner. And again, you're seeing what's happening on the other side with this runoff and the silliness and the nastiness that will continue.
Larry, winner of the week.
My winner of the week also comes from the Texas primary, but it's a completely overlooked story. This is why people watch this show. Texas 21 Republican primary was won by this man right here. Take a look.
Yes.
That's right.
So the winner of the week is the
Silver Slugger.
Yeah.
Hmm?
The winner of the week
Go
is the Republican congressional softball team.
That is correct, sir. No, baseball team.
I was just going to say that we are so screwed. We are so screwed for every year.
Congressional baseball team will not lose for the rest of our lifetimes with Mark Teixeira on the team.
All right, my winner.
We got to bring back Cedric Richmond on our side. He was a ball player when he was in the house.
Gonna help.
My winner of the week, and I know you guys will agree, men and women of the U.S. military, just extraordinary fighting force, and combined with their Israeli colleagues, just it's unprecedented in the history of the planet, the kind of war that they're waging as a two-country coalition. Just extraordinary dedication and performance. And again, 6 lives lost tragically, but they're doing all this with minimal loss of life. It's quite something. Kevin, loser of the week.
Kristi Noem, obviously, and this was I sent this to our team even before she got canned yesterday, so even more so. And again, that ad is just going to play on repeat, and it's beyond silly.
Larry, loser of the week.
I did 100%. I sent the same video, Kevin. As lovely as
I love it. To Paul, we sent this early to Paul, and that was even before so she got the axe.
She's your loser of the week too, Larry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll go a different direction and say loser of the week. No surprise if you follow my commentary. Chairman Comer, those Clinton depositions came out, and just this massive fight over holding a former president in contempt of Congress and Secretary of State in contempt of Congress, and then the thing comes out, and there's literally nothing of probative investigative value in either of those videos. Kevin, what are you looking for this weekend?
Well, Mark, to your point, I'm watching, the Trump endorsement in the Cornyn race. Does that happen this weekend, or does it happen closer to the actual runoff in a couple of weeks?
Is this a new post, or is this the old one?
I think that's the old one.
Okay, I got it. Okay, Larry, what are you looking for?
I'm watching gas prices and the continued efforts to open up the Straits of Hormuz and how that's going to affect global oil prices. So that's the key factor right here. Yeah, and the Navy continues to dominate.
I'm looking at the president's cell phone. The lid seems to have come off on my colleagues' any reluctance whatsoever to call the president. A lot of people have his number, and everybody's calling him now. He's unprecedented. He's taking calls from reporters throughout his presidency. But since the war started, I've lost count. There's like 25 reporters. Some of these last a couple minutes. Some of them now are closing in on 10 minutes. And again, everybody can have their own point of view about what's effective communication. This is no way to run a war, the view of some people around the president. They think he's saying stuff that's too off the cuff. Too many topics come up that he doesn't want to talk about, or he shouldn't talk about, but he answers. So I'm looking to see if Susie Wiles or anybody else takes his phone away from him, or starts to screen the calls, or make these decisions in less of an ad hoc way of some random reporter. And again, it's not just from like top level places. Some random reporter calls and wants to talk to the president. The president just picks up and talks. I want to see how many of those he does this weekend and whether anybody takes the phone away. All right, a quick word for sponsors, and then to your questions again. Please raise your hand if you want to be in on the conversation. First, Cozy Earth. First of all, got another great photo of a pup on a Cozy Earth blanket. The bubble cuddle blanket is good for humans. Everybody in my family fights over it. Weighs a ton, so fighting over it is an aerobic activity. But here's for those of you watching on the video platforms, you can see that beautiful pup almost blending into the bubble cuddle blanket. The bubble cuddle blanket for your dog or for you is available 20% off. Go to CozyEarth.com, buy a bubble cuddle blanket, buy whatever else you want in there. The sheets, the towels, the pillows, everything available. 20% off. Keep the pop up because I'm seeing a lot of good reaction in the chat, which I don't read, but I do glance at. Right now, you can buy everything on the site as a member of the two-way community, 20% off. Continue to hear from people just how happy they are. I've never gotten a towel so soft, sheets so soft, the bubble cuddle blanket, and of course, the pants. I just had a trip that I wore the bubble cuddle blanket. I wore the pants on the trip, and they're great for flying. I'll tell you that. CozyEarth.com, promo code 2way, 20% off your entire order. Oh, screwed up the promo code. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start over. Promo code's morning. Promo code's morning. Whatever. Take everything I said, and all you need to change is the promo code is morning. Yeah. Did I miss a sponsor?
Mark,
I did. One more
dog,
sponsor. Yeah.
That dog could be a soccer player. That dog is so good looking.
That's how good looking for the Miami. What's the name of the Miami team? Miami Interalis? What are they called?
Yeah.
Somebody put it in the
like
chat. Normally when I ask a question, it's in the chat right away. Haven't seen it. All right, one more.
Because we have American viewers.
Yeah. Factor Meals, Inter Miami. Thank you. Factor Meals wants to send you a free breakfast for a year and 50% off your first box. This is a subscription service that delivers mail straight to your house. We were talking to my house yesterday about we're between shipments. And we were talking about, man, I wish there were some Factor Meals in the fridge, because all you do is you unpack them when they come, put them in the refrigerator. They're labeled clearly. So you go in there, you see, oh, what's left? What do I want to have for dinner tonight? Unpack them, unwrap them, put them in the microwave or the oven, 2 or 3 minutes, let them cool for a minute. You've got a meal that's healthy and delicious. Portion sizes are great. And it'll change your life, because you no longer have to worry about cooking, no worry about cleaning up, no longer worry about whether what you're eating is healthy. These are great meals that are fresh, never frozen, and offers valid for new customers. 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for a year. Go to factormeals.com, promo code 2way50 off. Factormeals.com, 2way50 off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, time for your questions. Here we go. Dave,
the best part of this,
in.
the whole best part of this conversation.
Yeah, everything else is just prelude. Dave, welcome in. Thank you for being part of Two Way. Tell everybody where you are and what's on your mind for Kevin and for Larry. Oh, Dave, you're unmuted,
Dave.
but we can't hear you.
I think your own mic is
Dave,
muted, though, not
Dave,
Zoom's.
maybe tap your mic. You can open something else up, because you are unmuted. I'll give you another second to figure it out. If not, we'll come back to you.
I can tell he's got a good gamer system there from the chair.
I know, he's got a good setup in that professional
try again,
microphone.
Dave, try one more time. Damn.
No,
all right, Dave, you'll work on that. Raise your
mic.
hand once you figured it out. Let's go to Chuck. Chuck, welcome in. Thank you for being part of Two Way. Unmute. Tell folks where you are. Perhaps Oklahoma, just a guess.
Boomer Sooner.
Yes,
Boomer
yes,
Sooner
Mark,
right
I'm
there.
in the great state of Oklahoma. I have a question for Larry and a question for Kevin.
Let me ask you a question first. Who's the greatest player in the history of the Thunder?
SGA.
Yeah, good answer. Larry. Yeah.
All right, so Larry, do you think a President J.D. Vance would have taken the action in Iran, whether we call it war or conflict?
That's a great
question.
I believe he would have, yes.
Tell us why.
I will say yes.
Tell us why.
Well, because I think that his foreign policy and national security is not so different from President Trump. And I think that his cabinet is going to look a lot like, or should he win the presidency, should he run, I think he'll be surrounded by many of the same advisors. And I think that the more you have time on the international sphere, you start to, understand better exactly what the existential threats are to this nation. And he's never shied away from recognizing that Iran has been an existential threat. If anything, the reports coming out of the decision the president made is that J.D. Vance, once the decision was made, was actually encouraging for a stronger U.S. strike against Iran. So I think that he is getting mischaracterized here in terms of his apparent reluctance to utilize our power internationally when it serves America's interests. I do.
And do you think that's because of his actual experience as a member of the armed forces deployed to the Middle East to some degree, Larry?
I think it's partly informed by that, and a lot of the things that he said has been, he felt that a lot of the decisions that were made when he was deployed in Iraq were erroneous and wrong, and he is very reluctant to lead America into that. I think also because he is seen as dwelling in the Tucker podcast bro world, that in some way he immediately aligns himself with everything that those guys say, and I think that's unfair to the vice president.
You didn't ask me, Chuck, but I'd say 0% chance that he would have done it. Kevin.
I agree. And the question I have for Kevin, sorry. Do you think one of the reasons that Secretary Noem was replaced is to give Democrats a proverbial scalp to get the partial shutdown ended?
No.
Yeah, Chuck, it's a good point. But you've seen Hakeem and Chuck Schumer out there saying that that's not enough. That it's not just a personnel issue; it's a policy issue. Some Democrats might be open to it, though. You had some Democrats say this is a good first step, but certainly I think it's a good thing for this country that you no longer are stepping down in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, good point.
Yep.
And Mark,
yes,
Kevin mentioned that Mullin has Fetterman on his side. Somebody needs to write a book, maybe you, about the evolution of John Fetterman going from like far left as a candidate to siding half the time with the right.
Yeah, we talked about that here yesterday, or maybe on Two-Way Tonight last night. It's kind of an incredible story. When he ran, he was the left-wing candidate. He was the Bernie candidate in his primary.
Populist,
it was on the show yesterday, right? Because Kevin and I agreed he's not going to run for re-election. It is kind of an incredible story. Chuck, I have to say, it's an interesting topic. I might write a column about it, but it would not be on my top 400 list of books I want to write. But that's but it's a great topic. Just I'm not sure it's a full book, but it's a great topic. Chuck, thanks for being part of Two-Way. Thanks for coming in.
Mark,
thanks for those great questions, Chuck.
Chuck, before you go, who would you like to see become the replacement senator?
So I was reading about it. I searched the Google, and it says that the interim is not required by law, but is required to sign that they will not run. But
it's not legally binding. They just have to sign a piece.
Legally binding.
Yeah,
I don't know if the governor, who is term limited, will run for the seat.
Will not run for the seat, but appoint himself, right?
I don't know if he would appoint himself if he thinks it's going to be a temporary thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know how popular he is.
He kind of get away just signing Mickey Mouse on the thing and nobody notices.
And that election, Chuck and Mark, would be in November, right? It would be a special to fill that seat. It wouldn't fill out the rest of his term, I think, right?
It should be within 90 days, but
yeah.
I don't know if that's a binding thing either.
Yeah. Chuck, thank you. Grateful to you. Thanks for coming on.
Mark,
we should find that out. Is the election in November? I don't think so, because don't they need to have a primary? I think it would be next year. It would be, it would be in, I think that's a good question. Michael, look that up. Is the Oklahoma election for this seat, assuming he's confirmed, is it going to be in this November? Is it going to be November 28th? Doesn't matter. There's going to be a Republican seat. Dave, have you solved it?
If
you have not, try one more time, Dave. No. Dave, I'm sorry. Tomorrow. You're going to come on tomorrow, Dave. David.
Mark,
from Brooklyn.
If there's time, why do you think there's zero chance J.D. Vance would have given the green light? If you have time, I don't know how long.
I have time. If you're interested in my view, I think that previous presidents didn't do this because there are a lot of risks to doing this, and Vance's inclination is to not do anything like this. So I don't know why Vance would have done this when Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden didn't do it. Vance is less hawkish than the three of them, more inclined to use the military to affect American foreign policy. So I just don't see any reason to think Vance
is less hawkish than Obama. Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
David, welcome in. David lives in Brooklyn, USA. He's a great member of our community, and he thinks AOC is a little too moderate.
I think you got that right. Speaking of our president's affinity for good-looking men, I'm so happy that we not only have a socialist mayor, but we have a really, really good-looking socialist mayor. So
you mean here in New York City?
Yes, I think that's keeping us.
Maybe that's why Trump
keeping
likes
us on the good side of Trump.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy to be involved in a show that begins a statement. Speaking of the president's affinity for good-looking men,
exactly.
My career has reached a certain level now that I don't think
if you watched the event yesterday, he was name checking some of the players. Oh, this guy scored 3 goals, and he would turn around and he'd say, "Where's David?" And they'd show him, and the president would just be stopped in his tracks, like he was in an Archie comic book with hearts coming out of his head, glassy-eyed looking, be like, that is a good-looking guy. Is another one, and the fact is, again,
him that much more relatable.
They were objectively good-looking. I mean, almost every player on that team is like eye candy. David,
I just love that he brought up good-looking men during the Board of Peace speech that he was giving. That was so off topic with all this.
But I think that was meant ironically.
The president of Portugal or something.
It's the weave. It's the
weave. It was Paraguay. It was the president of Paraguay who was so good-looking. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I don't have a question, and I'm not even going to give you all my thoughts about world affairs. I just have a public service announcement to the community. I have been stupidly complaining to Mark about the fact that I've seen so little diversity on this platform with regard to this war, which I agree with Tucker is disgusting and evil. But I'm seeing much too much folding into the fold on both sides. Kevin, in particular, has disappointed me with some of his statements about this war. And Mark pointed out that it's not his responsibility to foster diversity on this platform. It's our responsibility. So I'm just speaking out and asking everyone on this platform who agrees with me about the egregiousness of this horrible war, get off of YouTube, get on the Zoom, raise your hand, share your opinions, ask your questions. Let's get some diversity in here.
Yeah. David, thank you for that.
Say.
Let me say something about that, and then I want to hear from Larry and Kevin. I got a nice note from one of you about there's the community meets after both the morning meeting and after two-way tonight, and I gather that the conversation this week has been very spirited, that there are people on the left and on the right who oppose this war for all sorts of reasons, but for a lot of common reasons. And I say it all the time, tens of millions of Americans oppose this war, some for craven political reasons, but many for very heartfelt reasons. I think Tucker opposes it for heartfelt reasons. I think Bernie opposes it for heartfelt reasons. And again, with a lot of the same reasons.
Green for heartfelt reasons.
These tens of millions of Americans, their voices should be represented here. I won't say equal, because it doesn't have to be exactly equal, but robustly. And when we book people to come on, and the fact that Kevin and Larry are supportive of this, it's just the reality. And other people have come on who are supportive. Everybody, as David said, don't send me an email complaining about the voices. This platform's different. You can send a letter to a cable channel and say, I complain because their voices aren't represented. You have, ironically, instead of complaining in an email to me, come on and voice it. We've had great conversations here, and we've heard from MAGA people, for instance, who've said they oppose it. But we want to continue that, because that conversation, not just about the original decision, but there's lots to debate, lots to discuss. What about regime change? What about the president wanting billions more for this war? What about the reaction of allies around the world? What about the civilian loss of life? What about priorities here at home? There's a lot of important things to debate, and there are people like David on the left and people like Tucker on the right, or wherever it is Tucker now resides, who feel strongly about this. Come on. Don't just sit passively by and watch two-way. Participate in it. That's what we are about. I need to go. David, thank you. I need to go. Larry and Kevin are going to finish up and tell you, because I need to go do Sirius XM. But I need to tell you before I go, because Larry doesn't know this. He can't tell you. You want to spend your day with me? There's two options. Come on over and sit right here with me, or I'll be on Charlie Kirk's show at 11:15 today. I'll be on with Megyn Kelly at, I think, 12:40-ish today. And then, of course, I'll be back on Two-Way tonight. Now, if you want to spend time with me between my appearance on Megyn Kelly and Two-Way tonight, you'll have to come over, because I'm not on anything as of now. But I'll see you a lot later today talking about all this stuff. Kevin, Larry, could not be more grateful to the two of you for participating today and all this week. And did I have one more thing to say? The players on Miami are handsome. I'll see you at Sirius XM at 10 o'clock in just a moment on the Sirius XM version of this program. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
You too, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. You too. And we'll see you across all the different programs, starting with Sirius at 11.
I would love to respond to what David had to say too, because I think it's important, at least from my perspective. What I love about participating in this program with you, Kevin, and with Mark, or whoever I'm teamed up with, is our role here is not to win a debate with each other. And in fact, our role oftentimes isn't even to give you our opinion about our support or our opposition to anything that's going on in the news. I think our primary role, speaking for myself, at least, Kevin, you can speak for yourself, is to sort of explain where so many people on my side of the political equation, whether they're in the media or just Trump voters and Trump supporters, or Republicans and conservatives in general, why we think the way we think, why we take the positions that we take, even if you disagree with them, and Kevin does. But at least I can explain why we believe what we believe, and I don't try to win a debate with Kevin or change his mind, because then he does the same thing for his beliefs. And I think that's the value of what we do here. And sometimes we are going to agree on things, and sometimes we're not.
And I think too, Larry, to your point, it's more of a dialogue than a debate oftentimes, right? We want to have this exchange of ideas, views, and the ideas and theories backing up those views. And there's millions of Democrats that support taking out the regime in Tehran, which I do, based on 48 years of terror. And I think the world will be a safer place, hopefully, when that regime is out of place. And we'll see what it comes afterwards. But again, it's important to have that dialogue. It's important, as I just said, to hear from David, because he's also representative of millions of Democrats who feel very strongly about the war on the other side of this issue.
And that's where the community comes in.
And that's what this community is all about. And that's what the chat is about, which I review all the time in terms of hearing people. People tweeted at us too. They're winners and losers. Especially coming into this morning's conversation, that's what this platform is all about. And that's what we celebrate and engage with every day.
And what you won't see is Kevin and I can't speak for Mark because he's a loose cannon, but you won't see us yelling at each other, calling each other names, or saying that because I'm never going to say to Kevin, because he believes what he believes, he's evil and un-American and unpatriotic. And that you may see that elsewhere. And Lord knows if that's what you want to see, you've got plenty of options for that. But this is a way forward for America's political conversation. And I think we can all agree that would be an improvement. I think we need to find a new way to have these conversations. And that's
exactly right. Exactly right.
Aiming to achieve.
And to keep that and to keep the eye on the ball on, all the foreign interests and adversaries that are out there that are interested in our division and dividing us, in these kinds of exchanges. That's how China wins. That's how Russia wins. When we're divided and not keeping our eye on the ball.
And finally, despite the fact that he's never played soccer, he is one good-looking man. Oh, wrong way. He is one good-looking man. Have you noticed how good-looking Kevin is?
Right.
So tonight, we've got two-way to.
We've got some things to promote here, Larry.
We do. The brand new editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller, my dear friend and former co-host on my radio show, Amber Duke. She's fabulous. And other guests will be on 2-way tonight at 5 p.m. with Mark. And actually, no, that's all we got.
That's all we got. But as Mark previewed, you're going to see a lot of him today across different channels. So tune into that, especially follow him on Twitter to get the latest updates in terms of where you'll be seeing him throughout the day. And of course, that 2-way tonight at 5 p.m. And we just hope that everybody has a great and safe weekend.
Why do I keep pointing the wrong way? Because you're the wrong way on my screen. Do you have media tonight or this weekend that you're doing where we can?
No, I'm off this weekend. We're driving back from Charleston. It's actually Alex, my husband's birthday today. So we're going to be celebrating that all day
Happy
today.
Birthday,
so special
Alex.
shout out to him.
That's exciting.
You are my second favorite Republican next to Alex. So
that's very kind.
It starts at home in terms of this bipartisan engagement.
Well done. And I'll be live at noon on my town hall show, where you can get on every video platform where you're watching right now. Just look for me and you'll see me at noon. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Be safe. And
have a great weekend, everybody.